What is going on, Who Dat family? We have an interesting update regarding our backup quarterback competition after that rough preseason game. One of our young passers really struggled on the field with low yardage and a bad turnover. Meanwhile, another quarterback stepped up big time and caught the eye of our head coach. This battle is completely wide open moving forward. Watch this video until the very end and please drop a like and subscribe to join our community. Spencer Rattler struggled mightily in his recent preseason debut against the Jacksonville Jaguars, casting a shadow over his standing within the New Orleans quarterback room. During the contest, the rookie managed to complete only 8 of 11 passes for a total of 42 yards, marking the lowest production among the 3 signal callers utilized by the staff. My assessment of the situation grew even more concerned after watching him commit a costly fumble that the Jaguars promptly recovered deep inside Saints territory. This performance lands at a critical juncture for a player trying to secure a primary backup role, especially given that Zach Wilson looked sharp in the same game, connecting on 11 of 16 throws for 145 yards and a score. Now here's the thing, fans are rightfully questioning if this outing signals a permanent shift in the depth chart hierarchy. Coach Kellen Moore offered a measured response following the game, stating he thinks the world of the room and believes it remains a talented group, while specifically noting that he thought Spencer did some good things during his time on the field. Moore also emphasized that he has watched Wilson show consistent improvement throughout training camp, which suggests the competition for the second string spot remains wide open. When I consider how quickly momentum can turn in this league, it is clear that every snap carries immense weight for a young guy trying to prove he belongs in this organization. Does this shaky start permanently derail the confidence the coaching staff had in him heading into the preseason? Or can he actually bounce back under pressure during the next exhibition appearance? That is the primary tension I am tracking closely as I continue to monitor how these practice reps translate into actual game day production for the team. 42 yards is a number that should keep any organization up at night when evaluating a signal caller who was expected to compete for meaningful backup reps. Why would the staff settle for that level of inefficiency when another candidate is clearly pushing the ceiling? My own perspective is that this specific output forces a difficult conversation regarding development versus immediate reliability. And honestly, this drop-off against Jacksonville highlights how thin the margin is between securing a spot and falling behind in a room where talent is clearly being measured against high standards. The team finds themselves in a peculiar spot with a coach like Kellen Moore, who prefers to remain diplomatic about his personnel choices even when the reality on the field dictates a different narrative. Moore is clearly trying to balance his public messaging with the private urgency of building a championship-caliber roster. Does the front office, led by ownership under Gayle Benson, prioritize the raw potential they once saw, or are they pivoting toward the more consistent rhythm shown by a veteran like Zach Wilson? When I look at those raw stats, the turnover issue stands out as a glaring problem that complicates the entire trajectory of this position battle. It creates a vacuum of confidence that the coaching staff has to navigate while balancing the expectations of a competitive season. If this represents the floor of performance during these high-stakes exhibitions, the team is forced to reevaluate how much time they can actually afford to invest before the regular schedule begins in earnest. Watching a quarterback struggle to move the chains against a defense that should be manageable for a professional is a wake-up call for everyone involved. I suspect the intensity inside the facility will sharpen significantly as the coaches demand more precision during the next week of practice. That covers the baseline statistics from the field, but we must shift our focus toward what these specific numbers mean for the immediate future of the roster. And I cannot stress this enough. The reality of failing to move the chains against the Jacksonville defense creates a genuine internal dilemma for the organization. My assessment of the situation suggests that the front office finds itself in a spot where the margin for error has suddenly evaporated. When I look at those 8 completions for a mere 42 yards, I see a rookie struggling to grasp the tempo required by Kellen Moore. Does this lack of production force the coaching staff to rely exclusively on the veteran presence of Zach Wilson to ensure the offense remains functional during the opening month of the season? Every repetition counts when you are fighting for a backup role. and losing the ball on a fumble deep in your own territory is a quick way to lose the trust of a staff that is clearly looking for stability. If the team cannot trust the second-string option to protect the football while managing the clock, their capacity to survive a potential injury at the starting position becomes significantly compromised. Looking ahead at the upcoming matchups, this lack of development against Jacksonville ripples outward, impacting how the coaches prepare for the intensity of the schedule. I wonder if this performance has already lowered the ceiling for what the staff expects from him during the final exhibition appearances. If the backup position remains a glaring weakness, the ability for this roster to stay competitive within the division against teams like Carolina or Tampa Bay will hinge entirely on the health of the primary starter. Every missed opportunity in these early games makes the path to a postseason run look much steeper for this franchise. Evaluating the backup quarterback landscape requires looking past the raw statistics to understand the underlying pressure applied to both Spencer Rattler and Zach Wilson. On one hand, the case for keeping Rattler involves his rapid development during training camp, which Kellen Moore praised despite the recent hiccups against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You want to see that young potential blossom into a viable safety net for the team, yet the fumble and the low 42-yard total paint a starkly different reality for any decision maker. And I'll be straight with you, that specific turnover deep in home territory is a massive red flag that likely forces the staff to reconsider their entire depth chart strategy. The counter-argument remains quite simple. Why trust an unproven rookie when a player like Wilson, who flashed with 145 yards and a score in that same outing, is clearly outperforming him? Analysts around the league are buzzing about Wilson being the safer, more polished choice for a team that cannot afford to lose rhythm if their starter goes down. While some might argue this preseason debut was just a momentary slip, I find that perspective a bit too optimistic given the visible gap in execution between the two men competing for that second spot. To be blunt, I think the coaching staff is genuinely caught between the desire to develop long-term talent and the immediate necessity of winning games this fall. If the decision remains open, as Moore suggested, it reflects a lack of total confidence in either option to perfectly execute the playbook under duress. My take is that the team will prioritize whoever protects the football with the most consistency over these final exhibition weeks, because ultimately, empty stats and lost turnovers will only hold this roster back when the regular schedule starts. When you look at these preseason results alongside the broader strategy of this franchise, a very clear picture of the current quarterback room begins to emerge. Personally, I view this debut as a significant wake-up call that highlights just how thin the margin is for a developing player like Spencer Rattler. While 8 completions for 42 yards and that fumble against the Jaguars are not the end of his career, they certainly signal a setback in his bid to secure the primary backup job. Here's the thing nobody wants to say. The coaching staff might be forced to prioritize the steady performance of a veteran like Zach Wilson if they want to ensure a functional offense early this season. For the franchise, these reps define their immediate ceiling as they balance long-term growth with the reality of winning in a tough division. Do you believe the team should prioritize the raw upside of a rookie, or would you trust a veteran like Wilson to hold the line? If the staff keeps this competition wide open, are you comfortable with the possibility of a rookie learning on the job during the regular season, or does the backup spot require a more seasoned hand right now? I want to hear your take on this roster dynamic in the comments section below. Watching how Kellen Moore manages these practice reps over the coming weeks will reveal if the organization is leaning towards stability or long-term potential. It is a high-stakes balancing act that will define the depth of this roster for the entire year. If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Who dat? I'll see you in the next one.